Since I started my business 6 years ago, I've met a lot of people through networking, and the ones that stick are the ones that I've walked alongside through some very challenging times. Today's guest is someone I've known for about 3 years, and where we met was in a group coaching program that was helping us move from a job, a corporate role, to starting a consulting business. And the fun part of this is we had never met in person until about 2 weeks ago when I had a business trip and I was going through Phoenix. So Mindy Maggio, welcome to your Passion, Purpose, and Personal Brand.
Hi, Lisa. I'm so happy to be here.
I know we've been talking about this and plotting and planning, but here is our conversation today. Mindy is an empowerment coach and mentor. She's a transformational facilitator, helping visionary women leaders achieve personal freedom in their life and their business while making an impact in the income they deserve. So, Mindy, one thing I know is when we think about mindset, that's someone that we really need someone to walk alongside with us. So you call yourself a mindset mentor and a life coach. I think we're going to learn a lot, have some good discussion today.
Yes, I loved our time together. I'm going to pretend that we're still at lunch, sitting outside on a patio and just hanging out together. That was so beautiful and so nice to see you in person.
Yes. And so for those of you familiar with Phoenix, we were at the Botanical Gardens and sitting outside amongst all of these blooming cactus and just beautiful birds. And it was just such a lovely lunch and great to spend time with you. But, Mindy, one thing I've noticed is that people who help others transform have often gone through a transformation themselves. And since we've been on a run talking about people reinventing themselves, I'm curious, did you have a transformation where you reinvented yourself?
Yeah, I love your series on this. I absolutely did, of course. And yes, the personal experience that I have had in life coaching and receiving help and my own personal growth has really led me to doing this work for others. It's the fulfillment I was seeking for so long in my life. And so you want me to tell you about it a little bit more, my own transformation?
Yes. So that was the question, is what were you doing before?
Well, I was working as an IT consultant when you and I met, actually. And we were in that program and COVID hit. And it gave me a pause because I had the best contract lined up that I ever had. So I had started my own consulting company in 2014. So I went out on my own. My background was IT, over 25 years of experience in a very male-dominated industry, in a very male-dominated part of the male-dominated industry. So I was working in infrastructure. If there are women, anyone out there listening, they'll know that infrastructure specifically was, pretty, a lot more male dominated. I wasn't in the software side of things. And when we met and I was in that program with you, I was opened up to this concept of purpose, of living your purpose. And I never thought about that before. And then being in a community of women, all having this conversation together, it really brought a lot together. I loved my life coaches. Life coaching changed my life. It helped me make a big decision and move forward with purpose. However, I still was not fulfilled. I was doing the same thing over and over again, that autopilot, living what I call the lies that we've been told that are supposed to bring us happiness in life, these assumptions of our culture, and money, success, all of the titles. Something was totally missing for me. So I decided to make a bigger change in 2020 and let that go. It was the first time in my life I'd never had a job. And I thought, well, this is time for me to reevaluate what's going on here. And obviously so many people did that at the same time. You've done a lot of discussions around this, why people were leaving corporate America in droves. So, that began my bigger transformational work is going deeper than just setting a goal and making something happen. That was always what my life coaching was about. So when I went into a program different than the one that you and I were in, but something that really helped me dig deeper into like really what I wanted in life, like what I envisioned my life to be. And it was really founded in purpose and making an impact for a better world. And that's what I set out to do.
Yes. And, you know, I remember when we were sitting at lunch, we had this discussion. We are told that to be successful in business, to be successful in life, that we need to, you know, have a 6-figure salary, 7-figure business, 8-figure business. Or if you don't achieve that, then there's something that you're lacking that you need to be striving for. You aren't working hard enough, that hustle and grind. And so many people that reach that turn around and look back, and they're so disappointed because they see it is a lie. It doesn't bring them happiness. All this striving.
It's for the birds.
Yes.
Think of those birds at lunch. Yes, it's for the birds. Yeah. And then you're just exhausted trying to work harder. Like you said, it's just, yeah, there's no way to live. I mean, that was such a big deal for me, is feeling the toxicity of an environment that really promoted that.
Yes. And I think it goes back to, you know, I'm notorious for saying who you are is not what you do. And I don't want to discount the fact that there's a lot that has to do with money mindset in this, the whole survival piece, that money is energy that flows through us, that does allow us to perhaps have doors open or to help other people and to do things. So I don't want to say that money is evil, but money is a tool to help us get there. It's not the destination. And one thing that I noted that you were just speaking about is the fact that when we know why we are doing something, when we have that purpose, and that's not generally connected to having a 6-figure salary, 7-figure business, 8 figures, that's rarely comes into the conversation. So we often have a why if we take time to pause long enough to think about it. So what is your why? And why is your heart on fire for this work? You mentioned that you had some transformation with life coaches, but what is it that you see as possible when you work with these women?
Oh, I might have some tears in this show. I don't know. My why is really rooted with my mother. I mean, she is my biggest fan, my biggest idol. And I used to always say about my mom, mom for president. I mean, she's so smart. She's 80. She's turning 80 this year. And she left a life of possibility on the table. I mean, her and I have discussions like this all the time. And she allows me to say this, and we talk about, you know, how I bring that into my coaching, because I ask her questions like, you know, what if life was different? So she grinded. I mean, she was the moneymaker in my family. I just had a conversation with her this weekend about her female lineage, right? Because there's a lot, like you just talked about, with money mindset in women and not feeling worthy of receiving money and having to prove themselves before they become worthy of receiving good money. Like, so she told me, interestingly enough, that my grandmother and her grandmother were both like the primary incomes in their families and took care of the finances and took care of everything and made all the decisions, which I find amazing because my mom was the same way. My dad worked, but my mom was one really paid the bills. He was an entrepreneur and she went to work and was miserable her entire life, pleasing everybody else, down to her family all the time, showing up for everyone else but her. And it took its toll on her body. I mean, physical. She's going in for neck surgery at 80 years old next week, literally. I watched her just leave so much. That's what she said. I left so much on the table, and she had so much potential. And when I think of what that could be for any woman, any person who's leaving their potential on the table. What is missed in this world that they could have like this fire to make a difference? And she's there, sitting there every day, wondering, and like, it's a hard conversation for her. So I want to have these conversations for women when they are younger and they are vibrant and they have this energy, and help them connect to that fire that's in them. Like, ask them the question, what do they want, as opposed to this prescribed life that we were told would bring you happiness. It could be significantly different.
It really could. And I'm thinking about your mother's situation, though. There may be regret there, but also I'm thinking about what she's feeling in her heart, watching you have these opportunities, watching you helping other women see that this is possible. It is a different day and age where my mother, the same. It was not something that women went to a career. Also, during that time, work was not supposed to be fulfilling. It was a 4-letter word, and it was acted as if it was. But the thought that what we do in our work can be connected with a purpose. I love that you've connected this back to almost an injustice, per se, Mindy, of what you saw that your mother had to experience. And how, for you, it's a way for you to right that wrong, to heal that heart, so to speak.
Yeah, you are making me cry, because I think of the conversations I have with my mom, and I'll say to her, my business isn't as big and lucrative as I see it inside of myself. And I said to her, I want to show you, I want to make you proud of what I've built, and that to me was, again, like, I got to make so much money. Like, I'm even unraveling my own beliefs. Right. And she says, honey, I am so proud of you already for being able to step out on your own and be courageous to do something against the grain. So that meant everything to me, because for a long time I was like, I got to show her that I'm doing the right thing,
Mm-hmm.
And we are constantly, like, my mom is like my greatest teacher as much as my greatest client. I tell you, I'm over there all the time and I coach her. And even just getting her to question these judgments that she has, like, even for my generation, like our generations, she's like, oh, you can't do that. She's still holding on to these beliefs that we can't do certain things, or women can't do certain things. And I always say to her, how'd that work out for you? I just sort of ask her, like, how'd that work out for you? So, yeah.
No, I think that's really good to be able to even have those conversations, because, there will be days where we want to be able to tell our moms what we see and how much they mean to us. So it's great you've been able to have that relationship with her. But Mindy, I want to go back to when we were in that coaching group, and you had a nickname that I want to see if maybe it transfers into your business. There was something that we called, when people came into our community, you were so welcoming to them, and we called it the magic of Mindy. So my question to you is, what do people say is your superpower, or maybe your secret sauce?
I love that. That really made me feel special. That's a great question. I hear a lot from people that my presence is my superpower, like really helping or allowing someone to feel heard and seen. Like, I'm really there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really with them. I'm in it with them, but yet I can also step back and see, like, the bigger picture, the possibility. I'm always like 2 steps ahead of them in my mind for what's possible for them when I'm hearing them talk. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, what the magic was I can see a pathway forward for them. And and so much more than they see for themselves. And I love it. So much more. That's your program. That's one of your sayings.
Yes, it is. And I think the thing is too, is being able to hold space for people. That's what I call that, holding space, holding a safe container where they can be who they are, where they can be accepted for what they think, where they can be in a place where they're not judged and held up to be heard. I think one of the best gifts we can give other people is to allow them to know that someone else understands them and hears them.
Yeah, that's what I did directly after that program that we were in. I ran a networking and coaching program for women. I call it Bridgeville. Mm-hmm. And I brought a lot of women together, mostly from the tech world, that needed to have a space to talk about it. And that's mm-hmm. what I did here repeatedly, is that we used to not joke, but we used to call it space and grace. Like really, mm-hmm. there's just this feeling of love that was created in that community that allowed people just to be who they were and it be vulnerable and it be tender, but giving themselves grace and then keep moving still. Like, mm-hmm. don't just stop, like helping them lift up and move forward still. So I do. I guess it's a natural ability, but I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And I think when other people see things in us that we don't see in ourselves, then there is, you start hearing it over. There's a trend, a consistent thread through that. So Mindy, you've referenced the technology industry and women and what you did was so different. What is it about the technology industry that so many people are disenchanted? So many people are leaving. What's going on there?
Well, it's been a while since I've been in it. Yeah. But I went to a networking event last week. I guess this will probably be part of this answer. I went to a networking event last week. I found myself going to an AI networking meeting. So artificial intelligence, it was a place where founders and investors were coming together. I'm like, why am I going, right? I'm not in the tech world anymore. So I went with another woman, and it was really interesting to hear when I introduced myself, Lisa, it was so funny. I said, I'm a life coach at a networking event for tech people. What am I going to say? Like, what are they going to be interested in? So I said, I work with women. I said, I'm a life coach. I work with women who are recovering from the IT industry, joking around. I don't work with just women from the IT industry, but it created such a conversation mm-hmm. because there's so much pressure and stress and imposter syndrome going on for women. So the men resonated with this. If they know, something has got to be going on. Like, oh, well, I know women that would want to have a conversation, right? Yes, because I spent an entire career not really being myself. Mm-hmm. There were obviously glimpses of myself in it throughout my career. I was myself with my team. I got to let them to see, but I also was I've got to be the leader that comes in before everybody, that leaves after everybody, and shows them that I don't have a personal life. And that, I think, is a big piece of not just the tech industry, but corporate America. Mm-hmm. That's one of the big reasons I set out to do more conscious leadership with women, is helping them see people for their value and connect people with their strengths. And that was just missing. I mean, there's so much missing, but that was a big piece that was missing.
Yes. And I think when you think about the traditional corporate environment, there is no place for that. That is not connected with the bottom line. It's not connected with driving more revenue. It's not connected with the whole goal of making money, which we go back to that money piece again. But when you're working with women who are burnout, who feel disenfranchised, and this can be for any segment, right? Yeah. But you have that in particular. I think is an opportunity for you as you work with women. Some coaching programs will work on developing a particular skill, like the one we met in, the goal was to launch a consulting business. But there are very few programs that you can be in where you're trying to work through a transformation where mindset is not an integral part of it. And I will tell you, most people will not go get coaching for mindset. They're going to get coaching for something else. And by the way, a tool we're going to use is mindset.
Right.
So
right.
Have you found that to be true? Like when you tell people you're a mindset coach, what is it that they're actually coming for?
They are coming to feel authentic, like to connect with and understand who they are.
Mm-hmm.
They coming at any problem, any circumstance, anything that's going on, unraveling. I love that word today. It just keeps coming up and I never use it, but like unraveling these old beliefs or like questioning where something is coming from so they can have their own opinion about it.
And I think a lot of times women are not permitted to have their own opinion, or if they are not in a safe space where they can express it freely.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what I learned about myself, because I don't think women know this about themselves, is the voice that they have inside themselves. Like where they're in one of those meetings, like I see myself around a conference room, like going back into conference rooms, and I have this thing I want to say, and I have this idea I want to talk about. And it's like more of an intuitive feeling about how something is going on. And I don't say it because I'm afraid of what people might think. And it doesn't fit the mold of like the project management methodology that I used, or the operational manual that I used. And I held back so much. And then when I do speak up, I don't feel like I had the confidence to be heard a certain way. Mm-hmm. And it was all in like my own way of showing up in those conversations. Like women won't say that this is what's going on, but that's what's going on. Is there like, I imagined myself, well, I didn't imagine myself, but I think I felt myself showing up as this little girl in the room. I'm short. Mm-hmm. I'm always everybody's little sister. So little sister can't have a strategic mind is what I would actually manifest myself. Like I showed up that way because I was being treated this way, or that's how I thought I was supposed to look or feel. And that's the mindset shift like I had to make, was my own identity and seeing myself as a confident, worthy of being heard kind of person that is an equal participant in a room.
That's good. That's good. So as you work with people, as you work with women, have you started to notice maybe a North Star that women are waking up to realize they need to follow?
Yeah. I think of when I'm working with them, like, what do they want, and helping them connect with their vision. And at the end of the day, in every conversation, they just want joy. They want peace. They want calm. They want happy. And that's what happened to me. I mean, I don't know if we have time for a conversation like that, but I thought it was just me. Like, am I the only one that thinks that this is how we should be feeling in life? I actually had what I call like a really big spiritual nudge in 2013, which actually changed the trajectory of who I am today, like getting me on this path, because I had this feeling, this overwhelming feeling that came over me. My husband and I were driving back from San Diego, listening to the radio, listening to Kings of Leon. If there's any Kings of Leon people out there, Cold Desert, such an amazing song. And I was just like swept away, just driving through the desert. It wasn't cold, but it was in the desert. And I had this overwhelming sense of peace and joy just come over me. Like, and it wasn't long. And I looked over at my husband and I said, this is what we should feel like every day. Every day. Like, what are we doing as humans even? Like, I went big in my mind, not just me, but why are we working this way? And why is there so much negativity and bad things happening in the world and greed and all of this stuff? Like, it just got so big. And I think we're just meant to love and be in a state of joy, this state of being that I felt for this moment. And that is the moment when I said, no more. I don't want to work this way anymore. I don't want to be this way anymore. The way that I was feeling, stressed all the time, overwhelmed, burnt out, pain in my body, sick in my head all the time. And that's the when I called a life coach. Like, while I'm in the middle of the desert, I emailed a life coach and I said, are you still doing this? Because I need to make a change and I have no idea where to begin. And she wrote back, yes, and more yes. When do we start? And that was when I I started my own company. I'm still in tech and I was still doing IT work and I still wasn't fulfilling. There was something still left to be done, but at least it got me on the path.
Yeah. And when you look at that contrast, like you had a taste of that bliss, right? Like, yes. I feel this and I want more of it. And how do I get it?
Yeah.
You almost need someone to experience that difference before they will come to you and work on something. You have to have felt some of that pain. You have to have seen that there is a new way possible. So I love that. And I love that we heard that story or talked about that story a couple of weeks ago. I think it's so amazing how in our lives we are given a moment, whether it is seeing an injustice or doing something in a totally different way where we realize that this hamster wheel of life we've been on is not necessarily the only way to live. So yeah, I'm glad that happened and how wonderful all of these people get to benefit from this new Mindy that feels that feels that.
I mean, it led to just better relationships first with myself. I started to connect with who I was and what I liked about myself. I was calmer, more comfortable in my own skin. It's a work in progress, of course, but Lisa, something you just said though, like, it's interesting when I work with women, I don't feel the word like comes up that I'm convinced, not that you said this, but I never want to convince somebody that it's possible to have this North Star. But ultimately, I think that like whatever they want, underlying that is that feeling of peace and ease. No matter what it is, they want it with peace and ease. They want the journey to be peaceful. They want everything that they're doing to be peaceful. And I don't think that everyone has to have a glimpse of it necessarily. I work with women who just know that there's something off and they're not getting what they set out to in life. And then being able to give them the glimpse by giving them like the permission to say no to something. Like, that's a big thing, is how often you're saying yes to something you really want to say no to. I'm still doing it. I still do it. I mean, I'm a people-pleasing perfectionist, recovering from all of that. That was a big part of it. So just helping people, like, to hear them and let them know that it is possible is a big piece of it.
And I think that's probably more true than they have had a glimpse of it. They have had a taste of it. I think it's probably more that they know it's out there. They just don't know how to find it. So when you think about,
me. Like, it's not for me. I've not been given that lot in life.
Yes, very true. And so when you think about these stories that we are brought up as young girls, to be, in my case, it was to be a mother, to be a wife, and yes, to have a career, but it was always to put other people first. And I would be considered a good mom or a good wife if I put myself last. But today, when we look at it and the reality of when we do put others first and sacrifice ourselves in the process, we're showing up running on fumes. We're showing up burned out and broken and we're showing up, we end up getting sick. And I'm not talking about having the flu. I'm talking about major chronic illnesses throughout our lives that we've carried this desire to please in the name of being thought of as worthy in there. There's so much that books have been written on this, right?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So, talking about narratives, I know that there are women who have not had a positive experience in working with other women. And I think probably part of this is some of the stories that we are told. Have you seen this, Mindy, in your experience of women working with other women where they feel like it's not a safe space?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure that any woman that's listening to this will say that. And it is one of the reasons I started Bridgeville, was really to dispel the myth that women have to compete with one another,
mm-hmm.
That they can be collaborative. I was just talking to someone the other day who has a female leader, manager, and it's full of competition. Like taking her ideas and making them a reality and then calling it her own, and then letting her know that like maybe her approach is wrong to things, and like really not getting sponsorship from another woman, when I think that is the greatest opportunity for growth a woman can have. Like, I'm talking a woman leader that has subordinate women, that this woman sponsoring these other women or peers, even like the peer competition. The concept of sponsorship levels the playing field so much. And it also helps you like see your own strengths and helps you grow when you do that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think everybody wins in that case, right?
Everyone wins. Yeah.
No, that's so good.
It just really upset me when I heard someone say that. Like I said, I'm not in the corporate world anymore, but to know that still exists for women, like you have to step on women to get over. That's just not cool. That's just not cool. But there's so much missed opportunity when we do that.
Yeah. So let's take a look at then. Community is so important. It is so important for entrepreneurs when it is hard to grow a business. It is hard to do it on your own. We need to be in community. So whether it's entrepreneurship or if you are still in corporate working, why do you think community is so important?
Well, the level of support that you get in a community is so different than what you might get. And I'm talking like in communities that I run and communities that I've participated in that are holding each other accountable to a level of growth. It is really important to feel supported in ways that you've never been supported before. Such as, I see myself very differently than I am showing up, but I see my own potential. Like, I hang out with Lisa because she holds me to a higher level of who I'm becoming. Like, I want to be on a stage and talking and inspiring and motivating women, right? To connect with themselves, to see that there's possibility in the world for them to do something amazing in this life. I don't want to be around a bunch of people that aren't holding me accountable to that and aren't seeing me as that. I think that that's a big part of community, is just feeling a different kind of support.
Yeah, I think people who can inspire you to be a better version of yourself and take away ego, take away all of the, bragging or look at me or drama or things that can come alongside that. I think that is such a great opportunity that everyone needs to find a community like that can help them grow.
Yeah, you're in a community like that. I just saw a post about your mastermind, and that is like helping you make decisions from that higher level of who you're becoming, not from the place that you'd make decisions before.
Yes. And it was so interesting. There was one member of the mastermind whose significant other came with them this weekend. And I asked about their experience, and they were so blown away at, and I almost hesitate to use this word, but at the caliber of people that accumulate together. But I think the thing is we are all working to grow and be better. We're all lifelong learners. We're all realizing we don't have the answers, and holding each other up and celebrating them. That is one thing that makes it so just distinctively different. But you've got your Bridgeville networking and coaching community. But Mindy, I'm aware you've got another community that you're involved in. Tell us about that.
I do. I have two businesses. One I run by myself, the Bridgeville one. And I actually did for an entire year something I called the Roar, which I haven't done in a long time. But it specifically really brought women together to celebrate themselves. Mm. You went to one of them. I know you were at one of the Roars.
Yes,
Roar is a round of applause ritual. And I stopped doing it, but I really do want to bring it back. I do it a different way now. So I also, I'm in business with a partner, and we run the Creator Collab for Women. It was originally designed to bring entrepreneurial women together, like change makers, healers, people that were running heart-based businesses alone, to bring them in community so they can work at that higher level version of who they're becoming, and like holding each other accountable to that identity level, and like holding space when they're not feeling that way. Mm-hmm. And now we opened it up to any woman that is working on her personal or professional development, because they need a space, like a very intentional space to do their work. Like any woman that's in the collab, we call it the collab, they are in no less than like 4 different programs doing something. They're taking a business coaching course. They're taking a different program on this. They're taking a spirituality course. They're taking all of these different courses to become more intuitive, to become more visible, whatever it is for them. And the space is so helpful to just come and do that work and stay accountable to yourself first. Right. And having like a plan, like, oh, I'm going to be here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm going to get this done. But the celebration is something that we actually do next week. I know that this isn't going to air until after this, but every month we do this free community growth circle for women. And we do what you're talking about. Like we invite women to come in to share their growth experiences and share their celebrations. Mm. And one of the biggest reasons why, and I struggled with this myself, is I'll have like these profound little growth spurts in myself. And I disconnect from them and I just keep moving forward. And instead of integrating that and expanding who I am, expanding my capacity, like you're a lifelong learner, you said, we're always lifelong learning. We're learning forever. But my entire career, I just like would never look back on those kind of growth spurts or celebrations and just keep striving for more. Like you said, this is an opportunity to pause and integrate, like, wow, I had this most amazing experience about one thing I didn't know about myself. And now I'm going to show up more that way. Like, for instance, what were we just talking about? My own growth, like being more visible or holding space for somebody, the space and grace thing that I have, like that was something that I had to integrate into who I was so I can keep showing up that way, not scrap it and try something different, because it's enough.
Yes. And I think too, when, who is it? Andy Stanley says that's what's rewarded is repeated. And when we reward ourselves with the realization that when this happened, this was a step closer to who we've been trying to become. But if we're moving so fast and we don't do that, we won't take those aligned actions that need to get us there. No, I think that's so good. And I think this Creator Collab is an interesting concept because I just registered for another program today. And one reason I did is I knew if I did this, there's a project I want to do. And I knew if I signed up for this, it's a 4-week thing. So it's not, like years. I'm in one of those 2-year things also. But if I signed up for this, then I would have no excuse to not do it. Like I'd put money down. I've blocked time on my calendar. I'm going to do this. It's going to get me to where I am. It will also help me when I work with clients, right? Of doing this. So I think we have all this activity and dreams of what we want to do. But when we have a space that's dedicated and blocked on our calendar, this collab sounds familiar or just fantastic.
Well, you should come. You should come and join us, at least at the Growth Circle. But for what you just said is what I call like doing things that are on your destiny pathway. And in one of my programs, I call it the pathway to personal freedom. But it's not just like connecting to a vision and all self-love. And if you're wanting to create something in the world, so the collab is for that, creating something in the world, right? It is also identifying your next right steps that's going to move you in that direction, because we will do 17 different things that might not actually be aligned because we know this, but it's really identifying like the program that you need that's going to help your clients, the messaging that you need that's going to help your business grow, whatever it is. That's what we also ask all the time to our people.
Yes.
What is that thing that is going to help you grow? Because there's a lot of things that you can do that aren't going to help you grow or help you make income. Like it might be asking for a raise. And then we would say, well, ask for a 20% raise, not a 5% raise. Like what would really make a difference?
I think that's good. And to challenge people to think differently, to push that boundary of what they feel safe doing and maybe push it a little bit more. So Mindy,
Lisa, can I tell you one more story?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just really quick. I just had a woman that was in my Bridgeville community. I sent her a job description yesterday for another friend who's looking for project managers. And she says, oh, I'm probably not qualified for that. And I'm like, my work is not done here, because I've helped her step into her potential, see herself differently, show up with authority. And then she sees a job description and it's out of her range. I'm like, my work is not done here. I mean, have I taught you nothing? Have I taught you nothing at all? And I'm going to talk to her tonight and I'm going to actually say that to her. Have I taught you nothing at all? You are so much more capable than you see in yourself. So That's the connection, I hope.
That is amazing. And you may also want to look up this research. I saw this last week, that if there is a job description and applicants for it, they did the study that in most cases, women will not apply for a job if they don't meet every criteria. And they found that men may or may not even meet some of the criteria, but they have this boldness where they feel like they can apply and do it. I don't know where that comes from. That might be worth looking into, Mindy.
Yeah, I would love to know that so I can quote that. But yeah, it's really helping women bring up their self-concept. You know, see that you are capable of this. You don't need the experience. You are qualified, and you could do it.
Yeah. We have the ability to do so much more. So, yeah. So, Mindy, if people want to know more about you, or you have an offer, don't you, for us?
Well, I always, my doors are always open to get on a call with me. One, Lisa, what I learned, something that was reflected back to me from one of the women in my communities, is something that we talked about today. So one of my offers is, you want to feel what it feels like to be supported by somebody? Get on a call with me. I'll ask you some amazing questions and I will support you, like really help you feel supported. And it could also be a discovery call. You can call me just for that, but you could also get on a discovery call with me and see if you want to get coaching with me. Because you said it, my heart is on fire to help women connect with their potential and possibility and make a difference.
Yes. And I can tell all of our listeners, this is not just lip service. Mindy truly walks the talk, and you do feel just so safe and accepted in her presence. So do yourself a favor and book a call with her. You won't regret it. So Mindy, thank you so much for being with us today. I know there are people out there that just hearing this conversation, hopefully they'll think differently. And the fact that, we are not always, our worth is not necessarily how much we make, but who we are and what we do. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. One of my greatest mentors said, your worth is not on the table. And I remember that. And I remind women of that. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for having me. I love hanging out with you and being around you. I can't wait till we're together again.
Yeah, likewise. So reach out to Mindy if you want to know more. And if you've gotten this far, I trust you've received what you needed. There are many ways that people today are reinventing themselves and also helping others do the same. So in this world where the ground is still shifting, we are looking for an anchor, and the answer that we're looking for can be found by being quiet and starting by looking inside. So until next week, go chase your passion, look after your purpose, and align with your personal brand of integrity. Who you are is not what you do. Your legendary self is waiting for you so you can live a life of so much more.